This is CBC Vancouver News.
He was armed with a weapon.
Police in Chilliwack arrest a man in what they call an attempted bank robbery.
We saw a glimpse of those photos and he is unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. It's intensely traumatizing.
The inquest into Myles Gray's death almost 8 years ago hears that police restraint did play a role, while his family sees photos from his autopsy.
I feel like this has continued to be the failure between the ministry and the city.
Plus, will they have to stack portables for Surrey students? The fight for more space and funding in BC's largest school district. Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. It was an emotional day at the coroner's inquest for a man who died after a violent confrontation with police almost 8 years ago. Myles Gray's family spoke after seeing graphic pictures from his autopsy. The inquest heard today that police restraint did play a role in his death. As Belpuri reports, a forensic pathologist testified it was the perfect storm of elements.
For the family of Myles Gray, it was a key day of testimony at the coroner's inquest examining his death.
Because I want the world to know that the truth came out today.
Gray died during a fight with multiple Vancouver police officers trying to arrest him after a disturbance call in summer 2015. Forensic pathologist Dr. Matthew Ord testified Gray died of cardiopulmonary arrest complicated by law enforcement restraint. An autopsy, he said, failed to determine a definitive cause of death, then set up factors that could have killed Gray. The list included pepper spray, multiple blunt force injuries, neck compression, handcuffing, and forcibly keeping Gray on his stomach.
And that is how my brother died. We knew this information all along.
The day Gray died, Ord said none of the factors in isolation could explain his death, but in combination, they would have been enough to push him over the edge. At one point, photographs from the autopsy were visible from the public gallery. The Gray family requested that they be entered as exhibits, but that was vehemently opposed by some of the lawyers in the room, and ultimately, they were not entered as exhibits. Family members lashed out at Vancouver police and officers' testimony that they didn't see any signs of injury to Gray's body.
And unfortunately, we saw a glimpse of those photos and he is unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. It's intensely traumatizing. And they're standing up because they do not want these photos even shown to the jury. Now, I wonder why that is.
The inquest also heard the day Gray died, he was exhibiting an acute behavior disorder. People suffering from the severe mania are highly vulnerable to sudden death from cardiac arrest during or shortly after a strenuous struggle. Once final witnesses testify tomorrow, the coroner's jury will make recommendations to prevent something like this from happening again. Belpuri, CBC News, Burnaby.
It was a scary lunchtime for customers and staff at a bank in Chilliwack today after police say a man tried to rob it. The CBC's Joel Ballard tells us officers did arrest one person.
Looking at the CIBC in this Chilliwack shopping plaza, you'd think it was business as usual. But earlier today, this was the scene of an attempted armed robbery. Police received the call around 12:15 in the afternoon. A man with a weapon was allegedly attempting to rob this bank. With customers and staff inside, the Chilliwack RCMP says all resources were deployed, and just a little over an hour later, a 64-year-old man was arrested and the robbery was resolved without injuries.
The civilians that were present inside this location during the incident were physically unharmed. They are working with our investigators right now who are gathering evidence.
During the attempted robbery, other businesses in this complex were told to close. Some remain closed now. Officers haven't yet told us what weapon was used or how many people were actually inside of the bank, but the Chilliwack RCMP says Victim Services is supporting everyone involved. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Chilliwack.
A warning for you, this next story contains disturbing details. Victoria police say they are concerned about a new mother after a baby was found dead last night. Police say an officer and an ambulance were called to a report of a baby in a parking lot on Bay Street near Douglas just before 10 p.m. Wednesday night. Police say it's believed the baby had been recently born, possibly in the area, but they don't yet know how the child died.
So we're very concerned for the welfare of the mother. She may be in need of medical care or support, and we're hoping that she comes forward and speaks with investigators.
Major Crime Unit is now in charge of the case. Victoria Police say that's normal in a death of a suspicious nature. BC's Children's Minister, Mitzi Dean, calls it a terrible tragedy. Anyone with information about what happened is asked to contact police. Nurses in BC have now ratified a new contract. Their union says 61% of nurses voted to approve it. As Mira Baines reports, the new agreement is considered groundbreaking.
There are about 50,000 nurses across BC. Health Minister Adrian Dix said he was delighted this afternoon in the legislature and announced the deal had been ratified. The BC Nurses Union confirms that 61% of its members voted to approve it. With the 3-year deal ratified, BC will become the first Canadian province to adopt a nurse-to-patient ratio as part of its plan to improve workloads to prevent burnout in public health. The model will be similar to one used in Australia. It'll establish a minimum number of nurses required for a care area. What's not clear is the oversight for the nurse-to-patient ratios. The deal, however, includes a one-time career laddering fund of $100 million to allow experienced nurses and healthcare workers to advance their careers, and a national and international recruitment plan. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
RCMP in Burnaby say a senior in that city has been swindled out of almost $8 million through a long-term cryptocurrency scam. It's one of the largest personal scams Mounties there have ever seen, and it comes with a warning. It started in the spring of 2022 when the victim tells police she received a text in Chinese from someone inquiring about her personal business history. Police say the scam escalated over several months, with the victim and fraudster becoming friendly, chatting over the phone, text, email, and an app. The fraudster convinced the victim to invest millions in cryptocurrency using an online trading app. But they used spoof apps which looked legitimate to fake her balance. And when she tried to withdraw the money, she couldn't. The fraudster vanished. Police urge you to be skeptical of high returns on investments in a short period of time and people messaging you at all times of the day. BC's largest school district wants the provincial government to do more as it struggles to keep pace with rising enrollment. The Surrey School Board says it will soon have to look at stacking portables on top of each other to fit more students. The portables are already costly and disruptive. As Angela Starrett reports, parents say the problem ought to have been dealt with years ago.
What you see here is just going to be mirrored in July.
Fallon Vickers has 2 young children at an elementary school in Surrey. Soon, her youngest will also attend.
There's 7 portables that are currently taking up, I'd say, a quarter of our field right now. There's 7 more coming, plus a washroom portable. So we're going to have 15 portables as of September.
She says a lack of communication and failure to acknowledge the city's growth is to blame.
This is an ingrained failure. I feel like this has continued to be the failure between the ministry and the city.
There are more than 360 portables across Surrey. Last year, enrollment grew by 2,200 students.
But in the last 2 years, we honestly believe that we've been ignored.
Alan says space isn't the only issue. Portables are not funded by the province's capital budget, but from the school's operating budget.
It could and probably will result in layoffs and cut to services, because we have no choice but to put in a balanced budget.
He says BC needs to build more schools, but BC's education minister says the province is playing catch-up after the last government failed to invest in Surrey schools.
We are in conversation with the school district. We are very cognizant of the increased enrollment.
In its defense, the Ministry of Education and Childcare says between 2014 and 2017, no new schools and only 1 addition opened in Surrey. Since 2017, the Ministry of Education and Childcare has invested over $500 million in capital in Surrey, with more funding coming soon. The $500 million invested to date is creating over 10,000 student seats, the equivalent to eliminating 400 portables. But Vickers says these investments should have been put in long before.
These children are essentially being isolated outside. If the school had just been built for the now current need, that wouldn't be the case. They would be inside the school with their peers, safe and sound all day during the school hours.
As for now, schoolyards like this are set to see more portables in their sights. Angela Sterrett, CBC News, Surrey.
In the meantime, there are signs that Surrey's agriculture sector could soon struggle to keep up with the demand because of a shortage of workers. Since last year, the number of job applicants has fallen sharply. The Surrey Board of Trade says over 1,000 jobs are currently unfilled, leading some to worry it could hurt our local food supply.
We cannot rely on external sources of food production. There needs to be some level of Canadian sustainability of food production.
But some farmers say the next generation doesn't want to take over their businesses, and it's tough to find people willing to work the long hours and hard labor. In response, the Board of Trade is working with SFU and Kwantlen University to introduce innovative solutions to modernize the industry. The province is giving money to renters of a Langford apartment building after they were forced out for another time on Tuesday because of safety concerns.
This is not long-term. This is to get people right now who are between insurance or for whatever reason don't have the money for hotels. This is to get them through these next short period.
There are serious questions about the building's structural design. Through the Provincial Emergency Support Services program, people will get funding for food, transportation, and 5 days worth of temporary accommodation. The building owner, Centurion Property Associates, is also offering financial support. It's still unclear, though, when renters might be able to move back in.
We're contacting Engineering BC to find out what exactly happened. So there'll be a bit of a review on this building.
This is the second time in just over 3 years the building has been evacuated. 1 year after it was built in 2019, residents had to leave for seismic upgrades. Hundreds of people attended rallies today in cities across BC, calling for action to address public safety.
The issues that are facing us right now are growing, and it's not getting better.
They took place in Victoria, Prince George, Nanaimo, and Kamloops, calling for more supports for affordability, mental health, addictions, and the justice system. Organizers argue the combination of challenges has led to a province-wide public safety emergency.
And enough is enough. And we need more detox, rehab, and treatment beds.
Premier David Eby has been urging Ottawa to update federal bail rules. The opposition Conservatives are calling on the Trudeau government to block a bid to take over one of BC's largest mining companies. Swiss conglomerate Glencore is offering billions of dollars for Vancouver-based Teck Resources after the company announced plans to split into two separate companies.
All BC communities have an interest in mining, all of them. We are a mining province, and it's really important for us to stay focused on that. And I'm going to close by saying this: more miners, less gatekeepers. Let's keep supporting our miners in Canada.
Morrison claims the takeover would cause massive job losses across BC, as thousands in his riding rely on Teck and are concerned about their paychecks if a takeover is approved. The province says it has been speaking with Ottawa and Teck over the potential takeover. Yesterday, the company announced it would not hold a shareholder vote to split into two companies. The CEO says they plan to try a more simpler, direct approach to a company split. It was a lovely day to be outside across BC's south coast with warmer temperatures and blue sky. If you spent any time today, though, but our changing weather, I should say, has prompted an avalanche warning for much of our province. Avalanche Canada says a special warning is in place for the mountains of Western Canada, predicting the sudden warming could destabilize snowpacks and create large slides. The melting packs have also prompted the River Forecast Centre to issue high stream flow advisories for several areas. Backcountry adventurers are asked to be extremely careful on mountain slopes and near riverbanks. BC Lions great Louis Pasaglia is among 11 former SFU football players now demanding the university remove their names from its Sports Hall of Fame after the school shut down its football program. In a statement, Louis Pasaglia says, quote, I don't wish to be affiliated with or have my prior football career, quote, bring excellence to a university that no longer recognizes collegiate football as a worthwhile entity or endeavor for young amateur athletes throughout BC. Earlier this month, 5 current SFU players launched a lawsuit to compel SFU to reinstate the program. Last week, the university said it would appoint a, quote, special advisor to look into future football opportunities, but says the team will not play this season. The weekend is almost here, and after the break, Lisa Christensen will have a roundup of events for you this weekend. Hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. Sorry we were on a little late. Hockey ran long. He may not have invented trash TV, but you could argue he perfected it. TV host Jerry Springer, who never shied away from courting controversy, to say the least, has died at the age of 79. In 1998, Springer visited Toronto, where he answered reporters' questions about his chaotic and wildly popular program. Have a look.
Producers tell me that
he's a former mayor of Cincinnati, a former news anchorman, but he's best known for this sort of spectacle. Punches, swearing, an almost guaranteed fight between guests every episode.
I think the magic of the show is because you sit at home and scratch your head and say, my God, are these people real?
Jerry Springer arrived at this Toronto press conference wearing a Teflon coating.
In other words,
he has his responses to his critics and their questions well prepared, like just who watches his show.
It's watched primarily by people who get it. I find it very hard to believe that there is any significant number of human beings on this planet that watch our show and take it seriously.
Are the guests for real? He says to the best of his knowledge they are. Are the fights staged? He says absolutely not. Is his program a freak show? A sort of pornographic exploitation of the lower class?
Pornography suggests that something is enticing. I challenge you to find one thing on our show that is enticing.
Well, what about the children who might be watching? He says it's probably better for them than soap operas because they promote things like promiscuity.
A young person sees this and says, wow, this is great, this is cool, I gotta try this. Contrary, you flick the channel, you see our show. It may be the only show on television where the dysfunctional behavior or the bad behavior is actually booed.
Springer says he's only planning on doing the show for another 5 years. After that, who knows? He never intended to host a talk show. It was simply offered to him.
There are millions of people that could do the job better than I do on this silly show. I mean, I have no particular talent at this at all. I mean, people that, compare me to Oprah is the silliest thing in the world. She's a real talent. I mean, that's, she's got some substance in this business. I'm the ringleader of the circus. I'd like my...
Years in the making, a bill aimed at regulating digital streaming platforms in Canada has now become law. Bill C-11 will ensure services like Netflix and YouTube create and promote more Canadian content. But as Renee Filipponi reports, some fear the bill will go much further than that.
Accordingly, the motion is adopted.
And with that vote, the much-debated Bill C-11 passed in the Senate. For the Heritage Minister, it's a big win.
The bill is very simple. It's simply asking the streamers, the Disney and Netflix that we all love to contribute to Canadian culture.
We were known in Canada for our comedy, and I think we'll see more of that.
Liz Shorten says the new regulations for streaming platforms will mean more opportunities for Canadian productions.
We're very pleased that the government has taken this bold move. We know that other countries around the world are watching, and this will be a historic day.
For years, streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime have operated in Canada outside of the regulations traditional Canadian broadcasters must follow, including Canadian content rules and funding Canadian productions. How that's going to change will now be up to the CRTC, but many critics, including Conservatives, think the law is unnecessary.
Why wouldn't we want to compete with the world? Canada can, Canadians can. Just have faith in Canadians.
Hear, hear.
Others worry the rules won't be clear enough.
So the biggest concern right now is the actual ambiguity around the legislation and the doors that are open and the doors that are not closed.
These are 5 things that make perfect sense in Canada.
Much of the controversy around the bill is about whether it would apply to user-generated content, like the videos uploaded to popular sites like TikTok. The government says no.
This has nothing to do with the user-generated content. It's only about the streamers contributing to our culture.
The government will give directives to the CRTC about its vision for the bill. That will be followed by a consultation process where stakeholders can weigh in before any of the details are decided. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
It is never too late to start shoring up your weekend plans. Lisa Christensen has some suggestions for you.
I'm Lisa Christensen, and this is Getting Out. All the reasons you should get out of the house this weekend. Or if you want to get into a book, it's Canadian Independent Bookstore Day this Saturday, April 29th, and I'm going into Massey Books. Hi, Danny.
Hey.
So tell me about Canadian Independent Bookstore Day.
It's just a day celebrating what we do at independent bookstores. It gives readers the opportunity to discover new places in their community that they maybe didn't know about before.
Give us a pitch. Why should we come out for Canadian Independent Bookstore Day?
Supporting an indie bookstore is really actually going to impact your community. It's going to impact real people, people who really genuinely are passionate and care about books. You'll have a chance to win one of 3 gift cards at our bookstore. And we also have a big gift basket or box that we're giving away. And so you'll also have the chance to win that. And there's definitely some really cool stuff in there. I hope I win it, but I don't think I will.
This Sunday also marks the opening of the Hastings Park Racecourse. You get food trucks, you get music, and horses. This Friday night marks the opening of the Richmond Night Market. That's over 110 food booths from all over Asia, and this year, Mexico, Turkey, and Indonesia. The city of Surrey hosts the 12th annual Party for the Planet at Surrey Civic Plaza this Saturday. You can catch free live entertainment by local musicians, dancers, and environmental educators. And that's been Getting Out for this week. I'm Lisa Christensen. Do get out this weekend, or make sure you get into a bookstore and get a book. This is a good one. I've read this. Highly recommend it.
Good advice. There's a live shot of the Georgia Viaduct. Boy, I'm having a tough time tonight. Get ready for some sun and warmth. Kuljeet Kaila will have your BC-wide weather forecast right after this.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
You didn't have to be too bold to go to the P&E this afternoon. You just needed $20. $20 and you too could have been part of this big Vulcan mind meld.
Star Trek has a whole philosophy about it that I guess coming to one of these things makes you sort of think about. They think of getting away from personal belongings and improving yourself and going on. And I think that's what I believe in. And besides, I do need a T-shirt.
Well, they're $60. They're all the ones that are made up like that are all $60. How much did that cost?
$17.
What is it?
It's a model of the Enterprise.
You buy it here?
Yeah.
How much?
No, 25.
How big of a Star Trek fan are you?
Oh, I've watched it since I was a little boy, a little child. Watch every film I can get a hold of, every scrap of information. I'm you can see how far I'm dressed up. That's about as far as I go, you know.
Some say conventions like this are more like an attack of the Romulans.
We're getting our money back. We went in and walked right back out. It's awful.
Go get loonies from
I mean, it's like Patrick Stewart, and he shows up once at 5:15 today, once at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and they have a paragraph. Although Patrick will not be signing autographs today, he was gracious enough to pre-sign some beautiful color photos, which are on sale at registration. You just have to pay $15.
There you go, you're all set. These guys may have beamed up, but back inside, the crowd was multiplying, a room full of tribbles.
We have a manifest destiny quite clearly to go to the stars. We have to. We've ruined this planet. We have to leave. It's a matter of functional necessity. It's not a matter of science fiction. So this sort of thing helps prepare people for the inevitability of our manifest destiny.
Deborah Goebel, CBC News, Vancouver.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back. Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell. Here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Join Leanne Young at Vancouver Magazine's 34th Annual Restaurant Awards on May 15th. The prestigious awards honor the city's greatest places to eat and the folks who make them special. For tickets, visit vanmag.com. And the Doxa Documentary Film Festival returns May 4th to 14th. Enjoy thoughtful and engaging documentaries, special presentations, industry events, and more. Get your tickets at doxafestival.ca.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Kuljeet Kaila has our BC-wide weather forecast. On the south coast today, Kuljeet, people out doing things, enjoying that giant glowing orb in the sky, giving off a little heat and light.
Yes.
Not bad.
Beautiful day, lots of layers coming off. It got quite hot at one point as well. And we're going to share this sunshine across the province as conditions clear, even up towards Dease Lake, which was looking at very wet conditions throughout yesterday and most of today, even Prince George. The cloud will lift tomorrow. We'll see sunny conditions across the province, 11 degrees up in Dease Lake with some clouds, 14 for Prince George, sunshine for Williams Lake, hitting 20 degrees tomorrow, 25 in Kelowna, and 21 for the East Kootenay region as well. Stats for us today are high hit 16 degrees above average, low not too far off. The record high last time that it was close to this was 25 degrees in 1987. Inland today's high was 22, so not too far off. The next couple of days we'll get up to 27 degrees inland, but it will feel more like 30 degrees for friends of ours in the valley. We're rolling out the extended forecast. Sunshine for the next couple of days. This is where you want to make those outdoor patio plans. 23 degrees, maybe some rain Sunday morning, but only a 40% risk as of right now. Some sun for Monday, back to full sunshine by midweek next week. Temperatures will drop a little bit on Sunday and Monday and rise again midweek up to 20 degrees and 16 to end things off. So a little bit of clouds here and there, but for the most part, Dan, dry conditions, and we'll take that.
I think we will. Thanks very much, Kuljeet.
You're welcome.
And that is your late news for Thursday. Thank you for joining us tonight. For news at any hour, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. It starts tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. And I will be your host for our 6 p.m. newscast tomorrow night. So we'll see you then. Good night.